Welcome back to Giant Freakin' Robot. More than any other type of television programming, outer space sci-fi is defined by its opening credits. In part, it's because these shows are usually complex and require some sort of setup either to explain the plot, define a setting, or at least set up the tone of what you're about to watch. In larger part, I suspect it's because making great, bombastic, silly, catchy, rock and roll show opens is a lot of fun, and it's even more fun when you're playing with outer space oddities, zooming ships, aliens, or explosions. Space science fiction has a lot of that. But which space sci-fi show intros are the best? We locked ourselves in the Giant Freakin' Robot labs over the weekend, watched endless hours of programming, and came up with this perfectly ranked list. These are the 11 best space sci-fi series intros ever aired on television. The Orville is the most Star Trek thing since Star Trek. And so were the show's opening credits. And it got a Star Trek-style theme song to match. It's a perfect setup for what's about to follow, and introduces the ship we're about to spend all our time on.
Space. The final frontier.
There will be other Star Trek shows on this list, but this one deserves special mention for doing something different than the standard Trek, ship swooping past the camera intro and actually making it really good. Past attempts at departing from the Trek norm led to disasters like this. And this. But the Strange New Worlds opening is fantastic. The music gets better the more times you hear it. Even mentioning it is likely to get you humming. The Red Dwarf opening credits were actually almost respectable when it first arrived back in 1988. The show opened with a guy painting the ship, and then pulled back for a big reveal of the entire, massive vessel. But Red Dwarf is not a respectable show, and we wouldn't have it any other way. So eventually they got it right in Season 3 by speeding up the tempo of the music. Back when it first aired, Deep Space Nine was the Star Trek show everyone overlooked. That has since changed, and it has earned respect. Utterly different from every other Trek series in nearly every possible way, the show's opening reflects that. The beautiful theme music is more bombastic than adventurous, and gone is the narration of previous Trek shows. It still contains shots of stars, but instead of exciting flybys it takes you on a grand tour around this place, stuck in one spot in space. The best version of the show's opening is the one they started using in Season 4. It's then that they added the Defiant in. Like the show, this opening has weight. It's grand.
In the not-too-distant future, next Sunday AD.
In theory, it's a show about watching other shows, but for me the highlight of any Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode is the bits they do in between movies, with the hosts engaged in shenanigans. The show's opening credits embody the fun of those segments better than just about anything, while also containing information important to your enjoyment of the episode. These are primarily things like, if you're wondering how he eats and breathes and other science facts, then repeat to yourself, it's just a show, you should really just relax.
You'll have to sit and watch them all, then the monitor is mine.
The Battlestar Galactica opening credits underwent numerous alterations during its time on the air. In 2004, when the show premiered, the opening didn't feature any of the text we later became used to, counting down the number of survivors left and telling us of their search for a new home, called Earth. The BSG credits didn't even air at the start of the show most of the time. Usually the show kicked off with a 30-second, and they have a plan intro, telling us what the Cylons have been up to, and it wasn't until nearly 8 minutes in that the actual title sequence would show up. This is the best version of that title sequence, complete with the survivor count and everything, which made it haunting and perfect in its best possible form. Originally released in Japan as Space Battleship Yamato, this animated show was heavily re-edited and renamed as Star Blazers for consumption in the United States. Most of the changes made to Americanize the show for its 1979 airing weren't particularly good, but the one that absolutely works is the Star Blazers opening credits. The Japanese version of the opening credits is also pretty good, but I prefer the American version. It helps that the images used are pretty arresting, but mostly it's the theme song, which sets up the tone of everything that's about to happen.
Fighting with the Gamelons, we won't stop until we've won. Then we'll return, and when we arrive, the Earth will survive with our Star Blazers.
The opening credits for Star Trek The Next Generation used everything that was great about the original Star Trek opening and took it to another level. For that reason, as much as anything else, I'm ranking The Next Generation opening on this list while leaving the original, groundbreaking series opening off. I prefer Shatner's narration.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds.
But the music is a vast improvement, and the sweeping shots of planets and the long, slow shots of the ship really convey the sense of space and alienness in a way that the original, great though it was, just couldn't. There are minor variations in the opening throughout the show's 7-season run. It was in the last season of TNG that they really nailed it. In addition to being a jazzy bop of its very own, this opening song perfectly puts us into the mindset of series protagonist Spike Spiegel, and we were already dreaming of pulling off heists and finding our fortune in the stars by the time the first episode started. There's nothing else like it on this or any other list.
It was the dawn of the third age of mankind.
Babylon 5 arrived on television with those words back in 1994, and for 5 seasons, those words changed with the launch of each new year.
The Babylon Project was our last best hope for peace. A self-contained world 5 miles long.
The Babylon Project was our last best hope for peace. It failed.
It was the year of fire.
The year of destruction.
And so it began.
There is a hole in your mind.
What do you want?
No one here is exactly what he appears.
The music swells and the narration, no matter who voices it, that changes every year too, sets the tone for the intense story and characters which are about to follow. They radically rework the visual style used every season, yet keep conveying exactly the same feeling for 5 different openings. If I had to choose, I'd say Babylon 5 Season 3 opening is the best. So here it is.
But in the year of the Shadow War, it became something greater. Our last best hope for victory. The year is 2260. The place, Babylon 5.
Farscape made a couple of minor tweaks to its opening credits over the course of its 4-season run on television, but it was in Season 3 they finally got the music right. The first 2 seasons played pretty much the same tune, but with a more alien quality to it, which ended up sounding shrill. By toning that down in Season 3, they matched that now eerily cool music to Ben Browder's Pitch Perfect, echoing narration and a series of stunning, gripping images to create one of the greatest science fiction show openings of all time.
If I make it back, will they fall? If I open the door, are you ready? Earth is unprepared, helpless for the nightmares I've seen. Or should I stay? My home, not show them you exist. But then you'll never know the wonders I've seen.
Think we're wrong? Fire your torpedoes in the comments on this video. And whether you agree or not, remember to click subscribe. This has been Giant Freakin' Robot,